Last week, we made lemonade. This week, we drink from the fire hose. Greetings, citizens! I'm Jeff, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation episode 168. Today, we're blowing through one of the best weeks for new releases in all of 2022, and we've got no time to waste. Sound off down in the comments with which games you'd like to see during our Nindies at Night stream this Thursday. And if you would be so kind, liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with others are all ways you can help us grow. Without further ado, citizens, let's get started with this epic lineup. These are the 18 new notable Nindies hitting the Nintendo Switch through Sunday, December 4th. Kicking the week off on Tuesday the 29th is a title published by Team 17, which is usually a good sign. Even better is the Spanish developer who goes by the name
Super Awesome Hyperdimensional Mega Team.
How can you not love that? The Night Witch just looks outstanding. With its hand-drawn aesthetic, you take the role of an apprentice mage in this game that blends the exploration of an open world, a la Metroidvania, with a side-scrolling twin-stick shooter. How cool is that? For genre newcomers or those who want to taper the challenge, it also features an auto lock-on system, which does lower your strength, but lets you focus more on movement while you're getting the hang of things. What's more is how you build your arsenal of weaponry and magic spells through a deck-building system that looks to walk the line of being just interesting enough without turning people off who otherwise don't like those mechanics. The dev team has yet to release a Switch game, but their one console title and a couple of mobile games have all been very well received, so I'm personally all in on this one. If you're right there with me, you can pick up The Night Witch when it launches for $19.99. And then, I've gotta admit, I'm feeling conflicted with this next one, and if you've played Golf Story or are excited for Sports Story in a couple of weeks, you likely are as well. London-based studio Panic Barn has a few well-received PC ports under their belt, most notably the Not Tonight Adventure series, and this week they kick open the eShop doors with Soccer Story for $17.99. It's an isometric pixel art RPG where most of your interactions involve physics-based puzzles well, soccer. So it's Golf Story, but with soccer, and I'm sure Panic Barn is very tired of hearing that. The story, following an apocalyptic event, and the tone in general are all fun and silly, and the game itself looks like it's shaping up nicely, so we should probably wait to judge the game on its own merits. That said, with Sports Story finally launching in just another week, I'll be waiting to see how the reviews stack up for both, and I'd suggest you do the same. On Wednesday the 30th, Sometimes You and Mayo Games bring us
Mega Man 11
with a discount for $7.99. As a cute little puzzle adventure, you play as an astronaut whose crew crash-landed on an alien planet. In order to survive with your small crew until help arrives, you'll complete tasks like repairing the station, finding food, and dealing with the hostile climate. With a blend of exploration and survival puzzles, it's a neat concept that's sure to bring out everyone's inner Matt Damon. And after years of feeling like second-class citizens, those of us who love tactical RPGs sure are eating good this year, huh? Hopefully that trend continues this week because one of the original genre mainstays is getting a brand new lease on life when Forever Entertainment releases Front Mission First Remake for $19.99. Despite the series spanning 15 entries, English-speaking territories have only ever seen 4 release. You may remember Front Mission from the PlayStation, but that was actually the 3rd in the series. Go figure, Square, am I right? This week's release is based on the original Super Nintendo game and is an ideal way to get into the series. Beyond the grid-based battles, you have endlessly customizable mechs that can give you a ton of room to tinker and upgrade. And in between battles, there's a surprisingly deep story that, assuming the translation is solid enough, should stand among the better stories in the genre, especially if you're into deep wartime political drama. And of course, mechs. There's a lot we don't know, with this being Forever Entertainment's first go at the genre, but they did a great job with the House of the Dead remake, so assuming it launches to good reviews, I'm all about experiencing this fantastic series right from the start. And they got a couple more on the way too. Until the Last Plane is also based on war, but this time you're managing an airfield in World War II. Developed by Carlos C., this game plays out as both an airbase management sim and a top-down shooter inspired by games like 1942. The graphics are rudimentary, but they get the job done, and it looks fun enough. I'm just worried about how it'll translate to the Switch's controls. Either way, it's ported to the Switch by East Asia Soft and releases for $9.99. The last game to release on Wednesday the 30th, as we wrap up November, is the one that I am most interested in. Astronite should look familiar to anyone who's played Gato Roboto, another 1-bit black and white Metroid-like with a sci-fi theme. Developed by Doom Game Studio, a solo developer, alongside publishing by Jandusoft, the game releases for $14.99, which is much more than Gato Roboto. But from what I can tell, it seems like there's that much more game here, too. All of the previews, as well as reviews for his PC demo, are very positive, so I'm really looking forward to this big open adventure that'll have you exploring underwater, jetpacking in the air, and tackling some really cool bosses. Plus, for what it's worth, I was researching said solo developer, and I found nothing but polite, wholesome interactions everywhere he popped up on the internet. And you know, I think that's worth something. December kicks off with a bang, as I can only assume the publisher
Whiny Frog
heard me complaining on our Discord last week about how the Switch has none of Vanillaware's back catalog. That's because on December 1st, the big Thursday drop begins with Sword of the Vagrant for $9.99. One look at any of the reviews from this game's 2017 PC release, and you'll see exactly what many of us are thinking.
This looks like a 2D action RPG inspired by Vanillaware games like Dragon's Crown and Odin's Sphere.
But on a budget.
And yeah, that's pretty much what we've got here. OTK Games took full inspiration with the hand-drawn artwork and, the armor that doesn't seem very effective at all around any character's genitals. Why do they do that? I think it looks great, and for about 8 hours, could be a great weekend game to chew through, especially for the price. Yeah, I think I'll be picking this one up too. But the big game I know many of you are waiting for was a runner-up in last year's Game of the Year awards and casually mentioned during the recent Indie World. Inscription is the deck-building card game that is apparently way more than a deck-building card game. But whatever it is that happens after the first couple of hours is completely unknown to me. Despite a little bit of research, the thing that makes this game so apparently amazing has remained one of the internet's best-kept secrets. All I've heard is that if you like any kind of card game or any kind of psychological spooky, you have to play this. It's created by Daniel Mullins Games and published by Devolver Digital for $19.99. It was the 19th highest rated PC game of last year and the 11th highest rated game for PS5 this year. So whatever it is, if you like what you see, it's probably worth checking out. And the Switch is no stranger to games inspired by Paper Mario. We've had a few, with Bug Fables being the most notable. But this week we received the Outbound Ghost, a cute little turn-based RPG in the same papercraft style that's all about helping ghosts ascend to the afterlife. Just look how cute this is! Oh, and now, check out the soundtrack. Yeah, I didn't expect that either. Apparently the story is adorable, the visuals are lovely, and the combat is exactly what you'd expect, but there's a big caveat. Reviews all say they love this game, but that it's a buggy mess. If you're considering this one, throw it on your wish list and wait until it seems the performance issues are patched to a level you're comfortable with. The Outbound Ghost is developed by Conradical Games and published by Digerati for $24.99. Whoa. In 2018, UK-based developer Supergonk released Trailblazers, a game that combined kart racing with Splatoon and tasked you to paint the track to introduce territory control into the kart racing genre. It received overall meh reviews, with people saying it's fun and the paint mechanic is cool, but it just didn't hold a flame to Mario Kart. That game is currently $2.99 on the eShop. This week, they released their follow-up called Warp Drive, and pardon me if I'm way off base here, but it looks like a very similar game, swapping the paint mechanic for a warp or teleporting mechanic and a vibe that's a bit more Wipeout than it is Mario Kart. I like the visuals and the car customization, and the soundtrack is great, but I'm certainly turned off by the $25 price tag. Honestly, I don't know. Unless it's Mario Kart, nowadays I struggle to see why anyone would even try to compete in the exact same genre. But hey, maybe that's just me. Work from home. It's a phrase that reminds me of back when I was only one of a few who knew what it was like to work out of my home, where I could sometimes be extra efficient, but still find time to slack off and do things like, run an indie game YouTube channel. Today, though, for $19.99, work from home is a phrase that also means a
Zany multiplayer party game with a gimmick!
And that gimmick is a little hard to understand. For up to 4 players, it's definitely got that overcooked silliness vibe, but as far as the gameplay goes, it's some kind of god game where I think you have to accomplish your bare minimum job requirements while also keeping people happy by letting them slack off. Frankly, I'm feeling a little attacked here. It's developed by 4D Macau, a Nindie newcomer who, every time I tried to research the company, I was led to a bunch of Chinese websites that made Chrome panic and tell me it wasn't a safe place to be. So, sorry, not sure what else I can offer here. Donut Dodo, though, besides being an 80s-inspired arcade game about collecting all the donuts in a level while avoiding the big-ass bird and its minions, is also a lesson in great marketing. I've been seeing this game all over the place for the past month, with a lot of love being given by content creators who focus on other games in this era. That's probably thanks to the publisher Flynn's Arcade, who releases the game for just $4.99. But the developer, Pixel Games, has struck a decent track record with Sir Lovelot and Siggy A Fart from Melusina, both of which are decent, cheap little romps. For $5, if you like chasing high scores and you dig games with similar Donkey Kong vibes, check it out. Knoll 2 Studio and Waku Waku Games bring us yet another Metroidvania this week, as Tomomi drops for $7.99. I get similar vibes to Touhou Luna Nights and Super Epic, a game that I just adore. This time around, though, you're tackling an evil corporation as an airheaded, pervy lesbian, and her horny lesbian partner who is constantly flirting with you as you explore a big, evil corporate facility. Those are their words, not mine. I like how your character is really small on the screen because it allows for a lot of platforming and variety in combat, as well as some huge bosses. If you dig this style of Metroidvania and enjoy pervy lesbian dialogue,
And who doesn't?
it sounds like you may have just found your next game. Earlier this year, we saw the Nindie Never, Cooking and Publishing, just copy and paste mini motorways, earning them the exciting badge of honor that is getting their garbage pulled down from the eShop. This week, though, we see a different take on the traffic management sim with a lovely art style as Railbound releases for $13. If you liked Golf Peaks or Invento, both great games, you're in luck as Railbound is the next game developed by the Polish studio Afterburn. Across a slew of puzzles, you have to mix and match track types, rail cars, tunnels, and more to get all the trains to their destination. I think it looks like a great time, and it comes to us by way of 7 levels. Papatura is a highly rated point-and-click adventure with an astounding papercraft art style that was based on a series of real-life papier-mâché dioramas created by the solo developer Petums. Reviews suggest that this game is similar to titles like Machinarium, and overall it's won a bunch of awards for its artistic direction. It releases by Feardemic with a 10% discount for $8.99. Radaleka's release for the week sure has an interesting backstory. Intrepid Izzy started its life as a Kickstarter by Senile Team, who mostly makes modern games for the Sega Dreamcast, which happens to be my favorite console. It released in 2020 to generally positive reviews, and this week makes its way to the Switch for $10.99. Running at only a few hours, I would suggest waiting for a discount, But if you do decide to dive in, you'll find a 2D action platformer with a combat system based around beat-em-ups. It looks like a good time, but with that short of a runtime, I'll probably be waiting for a sale. Then our last two games for the week are both retro throwbacks to very specific eras, starting with Super Kiwi 64 by Diplodocus Games. Given the name, it should be no surprise that this is a 3D collectathon, and its structure follows the best of them, with open-ended worlds that you can explore in any order. Don't expect too much from it, as it's only $2.99, but then again, for only $2.99, it looks pretty good. Last up for the week is Ceralium Ultimate, which looks like the kind of hardcore computer RPGs all my friends' big brothers used to play back when I was a kid. It's a first-person dungeon crawler like the old Ultima games, but it throws in a monster-catching mechanic with over 1,200 to find. That depth also extends to the 40 different character classes you can build, and the battles take place in randomly generated dungeons, with parties of up to 6v6, making for some pretty epic showdowns. It's developed by Thylacine Studios and rounds out the week for $19.99. Told you it was an epic week. What's standing out to you? For me, I'm all about the Night Witch, Astronite, and Front Mission, but I'm also feeling Sword of the Vagrant and maybe something smaller like Donut Dodo or Intrepid Izzy. Let me know if you want to see any of these during Nindies at Night this Thursday, and I'll see what I can do. As usual, you can also find more Nindie Nation on Twitter, and we'd love to have you come join us on Discord. If you want to help us grow, liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with others really goes a long way. Otherwise, next week we finally see the release of Chained Echoes, which is what I'm guessing I'll be playing through the rest of the year, and then there's still a few more big indies like Sports Story dropping before the end of the year. But we'll touch on all that next week, citizens, because we're all done for today. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 168, and remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.